Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Utility Sports, and it starts today. The second round part of our mock drafts here have come to the channel now at this point. Austin's been doing so much work and research on all these players, watches so much college football, and we're bringing you the best content we possibly can. This is a continuation of round one, a mock draft that came up earlier on our week, mock draft Mondays. Those who have been watching our channel know exactly what that's about. If you haven't seen it, that's what this second round mock draft is based off of. So, go check out the round one mock draft. It'll help you get insight to why we went this way in round two for your specific teams. And now, without further ado, Austin, we're sitting here with the Detroit Lions, 33rd overall. They really bolstered up their front seven in round one. What are you looking at here, 33 for Detroit?
Now we are actually going to address the quarterback position. Desmond Ridder is going to be the pick out of Cincinnati. He's a dual threat quarterback, could really fit in nicely alongside of DeAndre Swift. He's got a nice security blanket in TJ Hawkinson. And then hopefully they can continue to address that wide receiver position, which I do believe is another position of need. So very later on in the draft, they can definitely address that through the rest of their picks. Desmond Ridder, I like the fit here in Detroit.
Right. Even with the really good first three selections here in this mock draft process for Detroit, they're still going to need a little bit more help from either free agency through future later picks in the draft. They do have 2 first round picks next year as well. So they've got a lot of options moving forward. Desmond Ridder here, though, too much value to pass up on. 33rd overall. You can let him sit for a year behind Goff. You've got some time to figure things out. Ridder, a very good selection here, 33rd overall. Pick 34, we're looking at the Houston Texans, another team who's kind of up in the air right now. We don't really know what they have on their roster. Austin, why should Texans fans be excited? And then where do you have them going with this pick?
Yeah, so the Houston Texans, the nice thing is they have one of the best assets to trade in the entire NFL of the guys that are available. A guy that definitely can net 3 first rounders and potentially 2 nice players in addition to those 3 first rounders. That's why Texans fans should be excited because they have a humongous asset at their disposal, and they're very likely going to exercise that in the offseason. So expect the Texans to trade Watson. But now with this selection here, there's a player on the board that addresses a very, very key need for this team. And that's at the corner spot. Martin Emerson from Mississippi State is going to be my pick. He's 6'2", 200 pounds, really, really physical corner. I've watched a couple of Mississippi State games so far this year. He has been great at the point of attack in the run game. He's not afraid to go up and hit a guy. Also very, very good in coverage on the boundary. I love this for the Texans. I think this is a huge improvement from where they're currently at.
Texans definitely improving their secondary with this selection. Martin Emerson comes in, their first round selection. Probably pretty happy to be seeing this guy come in as well. Would make a lot of sense for Houston to look in this direction. 35, we got my New York Jets here, and it's just been an up and down season. Of course, Zach Wilson hasn't necessarily lived up to the expectations, then ended up getting injured. Mike White comes in, has a breakout game, then later says he should have been the number 1 overall pick and throws 4 interceptions. Just been a crazy, crazy swing of events here for the New York Jets. Austin, where do they need to go? Is it more defense for Robert Saleh, or does Joe Douglas prioritize offense here?
I think they're going to look defensively on that side of the ball. I do see one player in particular that I really like for this team, and that is going to be Darian Kendrick from Georgia, the Clemson transfer, a guy that excels in zone coverage. He does a really, really good job keeping his eye on the quarterback and also is pretty good at baiting. If you looked at last week's game when he had that interception, did a really nice job disguising himself, gets the pick. I love Darian Kendrick for the New York Jets. This is a team that is improving. They have a lot of assets in this draft to do so, and filling that corner position is absolutely huge for them.
I think this is really good value for the New York Jets. Passed on a cornerback in round 1, weren't able to get the guy maybe they had wanted coming in, but Darian Kendrick, still someone who could really fill in, brings a lot of value, and has faced some really top-end competition in his time both at Clemson and Georgia. This pick makes a lot of sense for Robert Saleh and that Jets defense. They need help in the secondary. Kendrick brings it. Pick 36, now we got the Jaguars, who did find some help in the secondary in round 1 of this mock draft. Austin, are they done on the defensive side? Do they go to the offensive side? Or do they continue building up that defense? Josh Allen, the guy they took in round 1, and a few other pieces really make up a good young defense.
Yeah, I think they're going to continue to build up on that defense. Devin Lloyd's going to be the pick for me. A guy that is a true 3-down linebacker. I like him in coverage from what I've seen so far. I think this is exactly what the Jags need. You have him and Miles Jack in that linebacking core. To me, that makes too much sense at this point in the draft. You definitely think about some of the other safeties on the board as well. They're really trying to push along Andre Cisco as well and make him work. But I like Devin Lloyd. I think linebacker is a key need. Obviously, they didn't feel Joe Schobert was the correct fit alongside of Miles Jack, so they opt to go with Devin Lloyd.
Austin, as a Jaguars fan yourself, give me the long-term outlook here for the Jacksonville Jaguars. How optimistic can you feel about your Jags?
Yeah, I feel pretty good about the defense. I like what we've been doing recently. I'm a little more concerned about the offense. However, that wide receiver position needs to be figured out. The tight end position, I don't feel super optimistic. Dan Arnold has looked pretty good in his time, but I'm not sure if he's the true long-term option. I do like the defense, so definitely liking some of the edges that we've brought in, and now getting Devin Lloyd is huge.
Very good addition into the middle of the defense, something they definitely need, and he'll be a great addition for sure. Pick 37, we're moving to the Miami Dolphins, who've been really disappointing this year. They're on a 2-game win streak, though, at the point we're recording this, Austin, find themselves at 3-7. What pick could Brian Flores use for his defense, or is this something to help out Tua Tagovailoa on that offense a little bit?
And this is a pick that we've talked about happening for quite some time in terms of the positional need. I'm going to actually go with running back. Kenneth Walker's on the board at this point. He has 1,500 yards rushing, 17 touchdowns on the season. He was a Wake Forest transferred his first 2 years at college. He was at Wake Forest, transfers over to Michigan State to play under Mel Tucker, and his career has exploded. I love Kenneth Walker to the third here to the Dolphins.
Extremely athletic running back, can change direction on a dime. Very good in the open field. He's going to make guys miss, and Miami needs someone who can be explosive like that and really take advantage of those touches. And like you said, when he was at Wake Forest, didn't have a lot of miles on those legs. So he is going to be fresh, and the Dolphins get a really good player here for that backfield. Pick 38, we're looking at the Philadelphia Eagles here. They had a monstrous round 1 to this mock draft. They have 3 picks in the top 16. They're going to be very well set. Now, this is their 4th pick in the top 40. This is such a rare situation for a team. Eagles fans, you guys have to hit that subscribe button right now if you're excited about the outlook for this team. I know if I was an Eagles fan, I would be extremely excited just with the direction that this team could be going after this draft. Austin, Eagles at 38. Where do you have them going?
I like Jaquan Brisker here. I think he is going to be a really good fit into this defense. They definitely need a safety, and they're getting really great value here at number 38 with Jaquan Brisker. He's a big-time hitter. Also is really playing with a chip on his shoulder. Another interesting thing about him, he lost his brother during high school. Really motivates him to play on game day. I love Jaquan Brisker. I think this is huge for the Eagles to get this guy.
Staying there in Pennsylvania with the Philadelphia Eagles, I think this is a home run move for them. They need help in that secondary. Anthony Harris is only there on a 1-year deal. Jaquan Brisker probably slots in as a day 1 starter for them next season. Would make a lot of sense for both Brisker and Philadelphia. Pick 39, we're looking at the New York Giants, and there's still some really good talent here on the board. Wide receiver Jameson Williams. Round 1 was an interesting one for them. I know there's a lot of controversy on the channel about who I had the Giants going in that round 1 of the mock draft, Austin. Round 2, where do the Giants look to capitalize now?
Yeah, I think you have to look to the linebacker position. To me, that makes too much sense. Brandon Smith, another Penn State guy, goes off the board here. I think the New York Giants are looking to have somebody alongside of Blake Martinez. And Brandon Smith really fits the bill here for the Giants. They're looking to improve that second level. And for this team, there's a lot of question marks, like we had talked about, in a lot of controversy around that QB position. But something that should be kind of universally known is that they would be potentially looking at a linebacker here.
Yeah, I think Brandon Smith could fit that bill like you talked about. Linebackers a need for them. I would be surprised if they get through day 1 or day 2 without a linebacker selection. They need to take one in the first 3 rounds. They have 3 picks so far up to this point in the mock draft. Brandon Smith, a good selection here, 39th overall. Pick 40, we're looking at the Chicago Bears, of course, the team that traded with the New York Giants last year to move up for Justin Fields. Did not have a first-round pick because of that trade. Their first pick of the draft starts now, Austin. Pick 40. There's some good options out here, safeties out here, wide receivers for Justin Fields. Which way do you have the Bears going?
I have them going with Jameson Williams, who has really kind of exploded onto the scene for the Crimson Tide. He's been the preferred target for Bryce Young. A lot of people thought that John Mechie would have been the bigger receiver here, but Jameson Williams, he's got the size, he's got the speed. That's what you really like to see a combination of. And the Chicago Bears are kind of looking at it from the perspective of Allen Robinson is going to be gone. And then you have Jameson Williams and Darnell Mooney, a really nice wide receiver combo moving forward.
Bears need to look at that wide receiver spot at some point. Austin, I'm also interested in your thoughts at the tackle position. Of course, some Bears fans are going to look at this and say, well, we need offensive line. We need offensive line. Talk about how one offensive lineman pick here at pick 40 doesn't necessarily solve all the issues along an offensive front.
Yeah, obviously it does help if they do take an offensive lineman here. However, they need a collective unit rather than one individual. They're going to get a little creative in free agency and the rest of the draft to kind of try to address that and fill some of the gaps. But when you have a guy like Jameson Williams here, that could be a true difference maker for Justin Fields. I think you have to go ahead and do it.
Right. We saw that last year. Jamar Chase was the pick for the Cincinnati Bengals. Of course, that was a first round selection, top 5 pick, but all year long during the mock draft process, we got flames saying they're going to take Jamar Chase over Penei Sewell. Everyone was saying, oh, whoa, they need an offensive tackle. They went with the wide receiver, and it's looking like it's paying off. He's on pace for over 1,500 yards, 10 to 15 touchdowns at least this year. He's been a beast, and the Bengals obviously not looking back on that one. Pick 41, we got the Washington football team here now on the clock. They are a team that definitely needs to look at the QB spot in round 1. They took a linebacker last year in round 1. Austin, is it more defense here, especially with the Chase Young injury news that we have now, or are they looking maybe a little bit more offense? I think they're an interesting team to mock here at this point.
And it's going to get even more interesting when you see who I mock here. I'm going Jahan Dotson. The reason I do it is you go with arguably one of the best players available still on the board. You're playing the value game. You're playing the fact that he's a really talented receiver at Penn State. He's phenomenal on the sideline, really has a great awareness of the boundaries. And I think he is that kind of guy that could be an impact player for them alongside of Terry McLaurin. And then you're really setting yourself up nicely in the future at the wide receiver position. You also have Curtis Samuel in town. And I just think it makes too much sense to go with a guy like Dotson at this spot.
Dotson extremely good at making tough catches in traffic. You bring him in as another outside wide receiver. Curtis Samuel becomes that gadget guy for you. We know Antonio Gibson can function in that way. And then also JD McKissick catches a ton of balls. You have a good collection of weapons for a young quarterback. Makes a ton of sense to me. Jahan Dotson goes 41st overall. And we've already seen 3 Nittany Lions go in the second round. Pick 42, we've got the San Francisco 49ers making their debut on the channel to the mock draft season. This time around, Austin, last year took Trey Lance 3rd overall after trading up for him. I know there was a lot of controversy whether it was going to be Trey Lance or Mac Jones. Austin, how are you thinking so far about Trey Lance, what you've seen from him in the Spurs we've gotten to see him play, and then where did the 49ers go from here?
Now, you can definitely see the upside when you watch the games. You know there is tremendous upside with Trey Lance as a quarterback. And we all knew this going into the draft that he is a developmental guy. He needs some time. He hasn't played a lot of college football in his career just because of the circumstances. However, he is going to come along. He should be a very talented quarterback at this level. And looking at their actual needs, I like Roger McCreary here. One of the best corners in all of college football so far this year. He has 14 incompletions forced, which is one of the top in the entire country, if not the top. I love his game. Auburn's had a nice defense because of a guy like Roger McCreary at the corner spot. And I think San Francisco, it would be very pleased to see him still here at 42.
Yeah, cornerback here, a big need for San Francisco. I think some 49ers fans would also talk about the right tackle spot long term. However, I think Roger McCreary just a little too good to pass up here, 42nd overall. You're getting arguably a round 1 corner near the middle of the second round. Extremely good value there for San Francisco. Pick 43, we're looking at the Seattle Seahawks here, a team who I think is one of the toughest to pin down when it comes to the mock draft season. It seems like somewhat they just kind of throw a dart at the board, and then half the time it works out for them because they have such good development there. Pete Carroll knows how to utilize his guys, and they never follow any sort of rhyme or reason, it seems like, when it comes to mock drafts. Austin, where are you looking here for Seattle, 43rd overall?
Now, this is a move that is really motivated by Shaq Griffin leaving in free agency to Jacksonville. We are looking once again at the corner spot, and you're going to see here in this round 2, it's going to get a little flushed out. I'm going Daxton Hill, having the best year of his career as a junior currently. He has his highest tackle total already through this amount of games. So he's looking really good in terms of what he brings in the run support game. Also, he's improving as a cover corner. I like Daxton here to Seattle. Really kind of fits the bill for what they look for in a corner. They want to make sure their guys can tackle on the outside, and Daxton Hill brings that.
Moving into 44, we got the Atlanta Falcons here, a team that in round 1 addressed a big time need that they've had for quite some time. Falcons fans, if you haven't seen it, go check it out because this pick could potentially build off of it. Austin, I'm looking at a player here who has some legal issues, but he's in Georgia playing at the University of Georgia, of course. Atlanta, very close to that city. They're very close to the Georgia Bulldogs, obviously in the same state. Is Adam Anderson a possibility here, 44, or are you scared away a little bit from some of that legal stuff?
Yeah, I think he's going to fall a little bit further in this mock. They are at pick 44 here. I'm actually going to opt for a quarterback. They feel that they probably need a quarterback post Matt Ryan here, and Carson Strong could be that guy. Once was viewed as a first round pick, hasn't played as well as people were anticipating at Nevada. I mean, he's completing 70% of his balls, and he has 28 touchdowns on the year. I mean, he's had a pretty strong campaign. Something that holds him back is his lack of mobility in the pocket. That's what he does struggle with. But what he does do well is deliver on time, on target, and he can really pick apart a defense when he has a clean pocket.
He's got a good arm, good mind, two things you're looking for at that quarterback spot. He just hasn't had that bill of health either, has suffered quite a few injuries in his career, unfortunately, up to this point. Limits him from probably being a first round pick this year, but could be one of those day two quarterbacks that really pops sometime down the road. Pick 45, we're looking at the Minnesota Vikings here. They went with a linebacker in round one to fill a need when Anthony Barr leaves. Austin, the Minnesota Vikings have a few other needs as well. Cornerback, I think safety long term could make some sense as well. You need someone who could take that Xavier Woods spot, long term. Austin, where are you looking for at Minnesota?
Once again, we are going to address that corner spot, and that's going to be a common theme due to the contract situation of Brashad Breeland and Patrick Peterson. Noah Daniels is going to be the pick. He is a press first corner. I like that for Minnesota. They really are looking for a guy that'll jam you at the line. That's what Noah Daniels brings to the table for this team. I think the Minnesota Vikings need to make sure that they have at least another competent corner. Cam Dantzler, up and down season. The last two seasons, he's been way up and down. His highs, he looks really, really great, and his lows are unbearable to watch sometimes. So inconsistency is very, very key for him. I think Noah Daniels brings a little bit more consistency to this roster. They have to get a corner.
We know the Vikings GM has spent some time studying corners at TCU in the past, taking Jeff Gladney a few years back. Obviously, legal matters got in the way of that. Jeff Gladney never ended up panning out there in Minnesota. I think Noah Daniels would be a different story here, 45th overall. 46, we got the Philadelphia Eagles again, their fifth pick in the top 50 selections. Absolutely insane. Actually, this pick's going to be going to Indy, because this pick does come from the Carson Wentz trade. So in round one, we had mocked the Eagles actually getting the Colts pick there. So this pick is actually for Indianapolis, Austin, who do you have the Colts taking with this selection?
Yeah, there's a couple of guys you could definitely consider here. One that I think actually is kind of interesting here is Trey McBride, a player that people aren't really talking about at that tight end spot. He already has 900 yards so far this year in just 10 games, which is really, really impressive. Yes, he's playing at Colorado State, good catch radius, but he has been super, super productive in this system. I think he can be a go-to guy in Indy.
Very interesting selection here. You get a tight end there for Carson Wentz. We saw when he was at his best with Philadelphia to start his career, he had really, really good tight end play in Zach Ertz. I think Trey McBride, one of those players that could become a very vital piece of that offense. Pick 47, we're looking at the Cleveland Browns here now at this point. A team that I think hasn't lived up to expectations this year. Injury's been a big reason why. Austin, do the Browns get back on track down the back end of the season? And then where do they go here in this mock draft?
It's all going to come down to the overall health of both the running backs. I think Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb are a tremendous tandem, arguably the best in the league. And now you have to look here for the Cleveland Browns selection. And this is a move motivated by a recent transaction. John Mechie III slides here 247. You have Donovan Peoples-Jones. You have Jarvis Landry. You have John Mechie III. That's a nice trio of wide receivers. I think they would like to add another one to that room to feel comfortable moving into next season.
Pick 48. Now we're sliding into Denver here. The Broncos in round one. No exaggeration here. Got a massive prospect in the first round. Here now with pick 48, Austin, how do they build off their round one pick?
This is the team that takes the chance. Adam Anderson. Yes, he is going here. Definitely a round one worthy player. Slides to 48. We've seen it in the past. Players with the off the field issues are going to slide. There's no question about it. But Denver's going to take the risk because they traded away Von Miller. And Adam Anderson could step in and be a humongous player for them in this draft, a guy that can really get after the quarterback. And he's just a part of a great, great Georgia defense that's historically phenomenal. Adam Anderson's a huge reason why.
I can see the comments already talking about the legal issues. This is obviously projecting that some of those legal issues get cleared up. No team's going to take him in the second round if he's really found guilty, or in prison at this point. Obviously, the idea here is that he gets cleared of some of these charges, ends up moving on with his football career, and is still drafted. Of course, some of those off the field issues do become red flags and concerns for teams, but the talent is there. Like you said, Austin, first round level player, get him 48th overall here for Denver. If everything checks out off the field, a really good pickup for the Broncos. Pick 49, we're looking at the Cincinnati Bengals here, a team who I think really started out the year hot and then kind of has settled down a little bit, cooled off a little bit. What areas of need do you identify for Cincinnati?
I think it's very possible they actually look to the well of the tight end spot, which is probably not the most popular pick here. But Jalen Weidermeyer, a guy that was once considered a possible first round selection, slides here 249. Athletic tight end, hasn't had the production. I think he's got about 400 or 500 yards so far this year. Not exactly where he wanted to be. However, the Cincinnati Bengals could have that collection of Weidermeyer, Uzama, and Sample as their trio. I like the pick here. Some upside for the Bengals.
Right. Round one, they addressed a big time need. Then they come back, get Weidermeyer here in round two, add a little bit more dynamism, a little bit more athleticism into that offense. I like it a lot for Cincinnati. Kind of gives you a multivariate attack through the passing game for Joe Burrow. Pick 50, we're looking at the Kansas City Chiefs, another team who I think they're just getting on track now. I think that they're going to start really getting into stride, winning some games here. Patrick Mahomes kind of figuring out some of the issues he's had earlier in the season. Austin, Chiefs here need to make a home run pick, in my opinion, to stay in that Super Bowl contention long term, especially with some of their contract situations. And I think there's a really good one here at the top of the board.
Yeah, I definitely think Jordan Battle is in consideration for this team, but I'm actually going to go to that linebacker spot at this point. I think Chad Muma is going to be the pick for them out of Wyoming, a guy that doesn't get a lot of national attention because he does play at Wyoming, but he could be a tremendous fit into this Kansas City defense. Steve Spagnuolo could really utilize him in a multitude of ways, could rush the passer, good in pass coverage. I like this for Kansas City.
Chad Muma, probably a name you guys haven't heard of quite yet. Austin's done a ton of research, has put his guys in his board here. Chad Muma, a really good pickup for the Kansas City Chiefs. 51, we got the Carolina Panthers here again. Round one, they addressed an interesting spot on their football team based off of some of their current contract situations. There's a lot going on there in Carolina. Of course, made some win now moves at the trade deadline, brought in Stephon Gilmore, also brought in CJ Henderson a few weeks ahead of the trade deadline. Austin, where are you looking for Carolina?
And this is a player that people might have thought would have been taken with the prior pick. I'm having Jordan Battle go here to Carolina. You have him and Jeremy Chin as your two safeties. That's scary moving forward if you have those two guys. Jordan Battle, very, very active in the box, a terrific tackler for his position. And I love this for Carolina because you can use Jeremy Chin in even more of a variety of ways. And they're pretty interchangeable. The two players, very similar skill set. I like Jordan Battle here at 51 for Carolina.
Really good pickup, great value here. The Alabama Crimson Tide safety slid a little bit in this mock draft. That's, round two, there's more about fit than talent a lot of the time. Jordan Battle, a good combination of both here for Carolina. I like the talent. I like the fit. Like you said, empowers Jeremy Chin to go and play football the way that he knows how to best, and that's by making a ton of plays. Pick 52, we got the Los Angeles Chargers here now on the board. Brandon Staley's got this defense coached up. He's got this team rolling. They are, I believe, second in the AFC West at the time we're recording this, Austin. Where are you looking for the Chargers now here at this spot?
Nick Bonito is going to be my pick out of Oklahoma. Really good value at this point in the draft. The Chargers will be looking for a defensive end when it comes draft time. I'm pretty sure of that. And I think the Chargers having Bonito and Joey Bosa on opposite sides of each other is going to be dangerous. They have to get after the passer if they are going to be in the division that they are. With Patrick Mahomes, you need some guys that can get after the quarterback. That's really what Bonito brings here.
Chargers add an edge. We've been talking about this for over a year and a half now at this point, that they need another edge. I think it's become more clear this year how bad of an edge they're in need of at this point. I think Bonito definitely does solve that issue for them. Pick 53, we're looking at the New Orleans Saints. They grabbed a playmaker in round one. Make sure you go check that out if you guys haven't already. Austin, the Saints have quite a few needs on this team. They're in a really tough situation with the salary cap. Where are you looking for New Orleans?
And this is a salary cap saving move. Jalen Catalon from Arkansas is going to be the pick. Reason being, Marcus Williams is operating under that franchise tag for this season. You have to make sure that you're going to be saving money somewhere. And for the Saints, it's going to be at that safety spot.
You heard it here. Marcus Williams probably just going to be a tough guy to replace. Jalen Catalon, he's going to do his best. You take a guy on day 2. Hopefully he can fill in, bring a good amount of that production, year 1 of his career. And I think he's a really good selection to hopefully bring at least 80 to 90% of what you're losing with Marcus Williams. Pick 54, we're looking at the New England Patriots here now at this point. A team that I think could look along that front 7 a little bit, maybe even use a cornerback. We know how well they develop those cornerbacks. So I think getting one in day 2 would make some sense as well. Where are you looking for New England?
I'm going the kid out of San Diego State. Cameron Thomas is going to be the pick. They are looking to that front 7. And historically speaking, New England likes to rotate guys often during the games. And just grabbing another guy that can get after the quarterback is going to be huge for this team. Offers a little bit of versatility as well. Pick 54, I think New England definitely has their mind focused on that front 7.
Most definitely. I think Cameron Thomas would be a really good addition along the edge spot for them there. Moving into 55, we're looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that I think has to get really creative with how they figure out some of their offensive struggles, especially moving forward. Ben Roethlisberger's up there in age. You have to look for the quarterback. We found one for them in round 1. Make sure you guys go check that out. But in rounds 2 through 7, it's going to be essential that they look along the offensive line, look for some skill position players like wide receivers, for example. They don't really have a lot of long-term wide receivers. Deontay Johnson, of course, looks like one. Juju Smith-Schuster only on a 1-year deal, though. You need another wide receiver or 2 there. They've got a nice young collection of tight ends. Austin, what are you looking for Pittsburgh at this spot in the draft?
For me, I think it goes along that offensive line. I do believe so. Darian Kinnard, once again, another guy that has fallen into the second round. Issues with his overall strength was the concern for him. However, Pittsburgh's getting really good value here at 55, a player that very well could play once again into that first round. Just sliding a little bit in this mock. Pittsburgh, they definitely have to address that offensive line. I don't think that's a secret. They've lost guys in free agency. They've aged. Darian Kinnard is a good fit for this football team.
Yeah, they need to add talent along that offensive front. Darian Kinnard, a big part of why the Kentucky's had a really good season this year. Of course, we've seen them up in the AP Top 25 and the college football Top 25 rankings throughout the season. Darian Kinnard, like I said earlier, a big reason why. Pick 56, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here on the clock. They drafted a really good player and a really good fit to save them some money in round 1. Austin, round 2, I think that they're going to be looking for some more skill at some of those key positions, maybe looking across some spots on that defense. Where are you going for Tampa?
I am going to the defensive side of the ball for this one, and we're going to look to that interior. Devontae Wyatt, watched his game against Tennessee. This is definitely a player that I think is going to start to rise up boards, and it's mainly going to be because of the stage he's on. The defense is great as a whole. We see some guys getting some love like Adam Anderson, Darian Kendrick, to just name a couple of them on that defense that are getting a ton of notoriety. Devontae Wyatt's one of those unsung heroes, guys that really gets after it during the game. Great motor, and I love him here at 56. Really fits into the overall culture of Tampa.
Right, Devontae Wyatt, probably someone who's going to get noticed by a lot of scouts, especially when they're spending time looking at fellow interior defensive lineman Jordan Davis. Devontae Wyatt's going to pop off the screen as well. Really good pickup here for Tampa Bay. They're looking to add a little bit more beef into that interior defensive line. Pick 57, we got the Las Vegas Raiders here, another team that I think is a little interesting when we look at in this mock draft. They could use some offensive line help long-term. I know that they've made a lot of moves last offseason to position themselves with something that they like. I still think that they could use some improvements. Also, cornerback we addressed in round 1, but defensively, I still think there's a lot of holes for this team to address long-term. What do you think for Las Vegas here at 57?
I'm looking to that linebacker spot in this part in the draft. I think there's an interesting guy, a very similar. Think Josie Jewell here with a guy like Justin Jacobs. Very similar in overall play type. Justin Jacobs is going to fit in very nicely to this Vegas Raiders team. And I think once again, they have to address that linebacker spot. I don't think they're going to neglect it this year. I think 57 is the perfect opportunity for them to jump in.
Justin Jacobs, a good pickup here. Like you said, someone who's going to fit in, be a good, solid, dependable player in the middle of a defense. That's what Las Vegas needs. They've needed that for quite some time, and I think it's a good pickup here at this spot. Pick 58 now, we're looking at the Baltimore Ravens, a team that just drafts so well. I think they're constantly one of those teams that wins the draft from rounds 2 through 7. Austin, here in round 2, where do you have them going?
I have them looking to that safety spot. I think there's a little bit of uncertainty on what they have on the back end. And this is another very, very good value pick. Brandon Joseph, a player we had been mocking at the back half of that first round, slides into the second round here at pick 58. Northwestern as a whole and defensively have struggled somewhat this year. They have not lived up to the expectations that they thought they were going to. Pat Fitzgerald's squad, definitely a team that I thought was going to be a little more competitive this year. Just have had some overall struggles. Brandon Joseph being one of them. Nevertheless, he is going to be a player that can be an impact guy for this defense. And if there's anybody that can really coach up this guy, it is the Baltimore Ravens. They are so great with player development across the board.
Brandon Joseph, a nice addition here. You get someone who can fit long term in there, especially with some of those uncertainties on the back end. And it's not ever bad to have an extra safety, gives you some flexibility and some nickel dime packages. You add in just more defensive talent on the back end. Never a bad thing. We know how much Baltimore likes to be deep and stout in that secondary. Pick 59, we're looking at the Denver Broncos. Remember, they took Adam Anderson earlier on in this round, and this is a big reason why they could take that risk on him. They have 2 second-round picks after the Von Miller trade this year. Austin, Denver. We've already addressed defense twice. Do they go back to the offensive side of the football, or is it more defense for Vic Fangio and the Broncos?
I think they're actually going to transition to the offense. Kellen Dyche is going to be the pick. Garrett Bowles is your left tackle. Dyche can slide into that right tackle spot, or we can kick him inside because you have Dalton Reisner at the 1 guard spot. Maybe Dyche is that other guard for you, but he has some versatility here for Denver. They can play around with this pick, do a lot with him. And I think the versatility is key along this O-line.
Right. Last year we saw Denver. Actually, the last 2 drafts we've seen Denver address skill positions. They went with a cornerback in Patrick Surtain the second. Last year, a few years ago, they went with Jerry Jeudy. Also took KJ Hamler. Got some wide receivers for that team. Now they come in, focus on the trenches in this draft. Get 2 really good defensive linemen and then an offensive lineman as well here in Dyche. I like it a lot for Denver. Pick 69, we got the Green Bay Packers at this point, a team that we have a lot of question marks about after Aaron Rodgers. What are they going to be without the MVP level player at that quarterback spot? Austin, are you concerned about Green Bay long term? And then what pick do they need to make here to try and get back on track?
Yeah, there's obviously concerns from going to from a league MVP level kind of player to a player we have really no clue at the quarterback position what he's going to be. Player that does have some tremendous upside, however, an unproven commodity. I'm going to look defensively for this team. I think it makes a lot of sense here. There's a guy like Jermaine Waller still available. I think they very, very well could look to that corner spot. Yes, Jair is going to be a lock, but you can kind of move away from the whole Kevin King. I know they love Sullivan there in Green Bay, but Jermaine Waller can be another corner for this team.
I like that a lot. You addressed that cornerback spot. Last year, they went with Eric Stokes. You already have Jair Alexander. Then you bring in that third piece into that cornerback room. I like it a lot. Virginia Tech's produced a ton of nice cornerbacks into the NFL. Jermaine Waller, another good example here for Green Bay. Pick 61, we got the Buffalo Bills, a team that took a cornerback in round 1 of this mock draft. Round 2 here, Austin, though, where are you looking? Last year, they really hit that edge spot hard. Is it more defense for Buffalo and Sean McDermott?
I'm actually going to look offensively for this team. I think on the interior, it's really, really a key need for them. Thayer Munford is going to be the pick. Offensively, Ohio State has looked tremendous so far this year. Thayer Munford, big reason why, really active in the run game, also the pass game, of a very solid pass protector. I think Munford could slide in nicely, really help aid the development of this running game. And for Buffalo, they have to keep addressing that offensive line. Want to make sure they're keeping Josh Allen upright.
Definitely a worthwhile selection for Buffalo there. They need to improve along the offensive front. Munford helps them a lot in that area. 62, we got the Cowboys. And I think surprisingly to a lot of viewers, I did not have them go with a cornerback in round 1. Does that change your thinking here at 62? Do they need to address a cornerback in the first 2 rounds?
And yes, that's exactly it. You didn't address it there, but it's okay. We still have a guy like Michael Wright here from Oregon. Definitely going to be a player that you have to keep your eye on for this team, just because there's going to be that run on corners. We've seen Waller go. We've seen a couple of other guys go earlier in the second round. So you want to maybe make sure that you're at the top of this. Maybe teams will be willing to trade up to make sure that they get the corner. I think this is a round that you very well could see quite a few corners go in that aren't quite the round 1 guys, but I don't think we're going to see a ton of guys in the third because there should be a big run here in the second.
Over the last decade, we've seen a huge transition in the NFL where the money is at certain positions. Cornerback has become one of those positions of premium in the NFL. We've seen a lot of really good cornerbacks get massive paydays for locking down guys. Cornerback, there's always a precedent and a premium on that position. Michael Wright, a good selection here for Dallas. 63, we're looking at the Tennessee Titans here. Went with a massive, massive player in round one. We're not going to spoil that pick. Make sure you go check it out. But they could use a little bit more help in some other areas on this football team as well. Where are you looking for Tennessee?
Harold Landry III has been a huge breakout player for this team, and we're going to help in that front seven once again. Arnold Ebiketie from Penn State, one of James Franklin's big guys, is going to be going here to the Tennessee Titans. I love the fit here. I think it makes too much sense for this team to keep addressing that front seven. Is going to be really, really crucial for this defense moving forward.
Ebiketie, a really good selection here. Another Nittany Lion goes off the board. This has been the round of the Nittany Lions. Tons of Penn State players going in round two, which brings us up to our final pick here in the second round. If you guys have enjoyed this mock draft, make sure to leave a like. Also subscribe if you're new to Utility Sports. We'd love to have your guys' support on the channel. We're right up to 4,500 subscribers. You've been absolutely killing it as of late. We're getting ready to announce a New Jersey giveaway over the next couple of weeks here, up to maybe a month away from announcing that New Jersey giveaway. We're super excited. Austin, Arizona here, 64. What's your thoughts?
I think that once again, they're going to be going to the well at the corner spot. It's really, really necessary at this point for them. Jalen Petrie is going to be the pick for this team. Reason being, they have to address, really at the other corner spot. You have Byron Murphy, but I have questions about the secondary outside of him, especially at that corner position.
Definitely Jalen Petrie. Again, another example of you have to hit the cornerbacks early, day one or day two, very early on. Jalen Petrie, a good selection here for Arizona. I think that's one of the few needs on their team at that cornerback spot long term. Good draft here, Austin. Honestly, I think that you hit a lot on these selections, address a lot of team needs, and also gave them really good players in the process. Not just hitting needs, but also fits, and also looking at guys who could actually really make a difference for these 32 NFL teams. Again, hopefully you guys did enjoy today's mock draft. If you did, leave a like, also subscribe so you don't miss out on any more of our college football, NFL football, or NBA, NCAA basketball stuff as well on the channel. Again, thanks so much for watching, guys, and we'll catch you in the very next Utility Sports video.